Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something I know you've been asking about cricket.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you're getting ready for a trip, or maybe you want to be able to talk to a coworker about it, or
Yeah.
maybe you're just interested in learning new things.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think you're going to find that cricket is much more exciting than you maybe thought it was.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from Encyclopedia Britannica, and we're going to use that to explore the history, the rules, and the cultural significance of cricket.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Cricket often gets this reputation for being, a little slow, maybe a bit too polite,
Yeah.
but that's just the surface.
Right.
Underneath, there are some really fierce rivalries, constant innovation,
Yeah.
and a level of strategy that's on par with any sport.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. So where do we even begin with a sport that's literally centuries old?
Well, let's rewind all the way back to cricket's very humble beginnings.
Okay.
Picture this: a bunch of country boys in England bowling at a sheep pen gate.
A sheep pen gate.
Yeah, that's essentially how it all started.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
Right.
That's definitely not the image I had in mind when I think about cricket.
It's pretty wild to think that something so simple and honestly kind of random
Yeah.
evolved into this global phenomenon.
Right.
But what's even more surprising is that some of those elements from those really early days are still a part of the game today.
Oh, wow.
The wicket, for example, came from that gate setup: two uprights and a crossbar called a bail.
So even back then, they were establishing the basic setup of the game?
Exactly. And the ball, although not made of stone anymore,
Right.
is surprisingly similar in weight to the ones they were using back in the 17th century.
Huh. I wonder how they even figured those things out back then.
I know, it's kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that as tactics evolved, so did the equipment.
Makes sense.
When bowlers started using length bowling, basically targeting a specific length on the pitch,
Okay.
it forced the batsmen to adapt. They needed a way to better defend their wickets. And this led to the straight bat we see today.
Oh.
Before that, they were using curved bats, kind of like hockey sticks.
So a defensive move actually ended up shaping the entire way the game is played?
Exactly. That switch to a straight bat even changed the offensive game.
Oh, wow.
New techniques like forward play driving and cutting emerged, which really shook things up.
Wow.
And for a while, batting actually dominated bowling, quite a contrast to how we often think of cricket today.
So we've got country boys, sheep pen gates, and evolving equipment.
Yeah.
How did cricket go from these informal games to the more organized sport that we know today?
Well, things started to get more formal around the late 17th and early 18th centuries.
Okay.
We have the first recorded 11-a-side match in 1697
Wow.
and the first inter-county match in 1709.
Ah.
Signs that cricket was getting more structured and spreading geographically.
I can only imagine the rivalries that started to brew between counties.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about bragging rights.
And around that time, written rules started appearing.
Okay.
We don't have the earliest versions, but they definitely existed before the first documented code in 1744.
Uh-huh.
That's when the Marylebone Cricket Club, or MCC, came on the scene.
Right.
They played a huge role in formalizing cricket,
Oh, wow.
establishing themselves at Lord's Cricket Ground in London in 1787, which became, and still is,
Right.
like the headquarters of the cricket world.
Lords. That name's iconic.
It is.
Every time I hear anything about Cricket Lords, it's always mentioned. It's like the Yankee Stadium of cricket.
Exactly.
Steeped in history.
And the MCC, with its home base at Lord's, took charge of the rules,
Uh-huh.
publishing its first revised code in 1788. They became the guardians of the game.
It sounds like they were trying to create a level playing field for everyone, making sure that everyone was playing by the same set of rules.
Right?
But did everyone always agree with the MCC's decisions?
That's a good question.
Giving one group that much power.
That's an interesting point. And as the sport evolved, the structure of the governing bodies definitely went through its own changes.
Okay.
But that's a story for later.
Okay.
For now, let's get back to those early days. With the game gaining more structure, we started seeing more formal competitions pop up.
Okay.
In 1836, the first North versus South match took place,
Oh, wow.
showing that cricket was breaking out of its southern England bubble.
So cricket was becoming a national sport.
Yes.
Were those matches anything like the long, intense test matches that we see today?
Not quite.
Okay.
They were different in many ways.
All right.
But around this time, professional cricket also started to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like the All England Ek and the United All England Ek came about, attracting the best players and giving us a glimpse of where the sport was headed.
So you've got the rules being ironed out, competition expanding, and the skill level rising with the arrival of these professional teams.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like a really dynamic time for cricket.
It was. And this is where things take a really fascinating turn. While batting was flourishing,
Yeah.
bowling was about to go through a major shakeup,
Okay.
the round arm revolution.
Okay. A revolution. Now I'm interested. What exactly happened?
Well, up until the early 19th century, all bowling was underhand,
Okay.
like a gentle lob.
Mm-hmm.
But bowlers wanted more speed,
Right.
different deliveries.
Makes sense.
So they started raising their arms, experimenting with round arm bowling.
So just trying to outsmart the batsman a little bit.
Exactly. But this shift caused a massive uproar.
Really?
People arguing about whether it was fair, even legal.
Yeah.
Finally, in 1835,
Okay.
the MCC stepped in, allowing bowlers to raise their hand as high as the shoulder.
So it wasn't an immediate acceptance of this new style.
Right.
It sounds like there was a lot of resistance to change.
There was, but imagine the possibilities this opened up.
Yeah.
Increased speed, different deliveries.
Right.
Round arm bowling transformed the game. But the bowlers didn't stop there. They kept pushing the limits, raising their arms even higher, even if it meant bending the rules a bit. In 1862, things came to a head when an English team actually walked off the field in protest
Wow.
over a no-ball call, which basically meant the delivery was illegal.
A walk-off protest. That's dedication to their point.
I know, it's pretty intense.
What was so controversial about raising the arm above the shoulder?
It was a huge debate, and it eventually forced a rule change.
Yeah.
Finally, in 1864,
Okay.
overhand bowling was officially allowed.
And that's how we got to the bowling style that we see today. Talk about a game changer.
It completely shifted the power dynamic.
Wow.
Now bowlers could hurl the ball at over 90 mile per hour,
Wow.
which, while not as fast as a baseball pitch,
Yeah.
added a whole new level of complexity and danger.
I'm trying to picture that from a batsman's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, facing a 90-mile-per-hour ball bouncing off the pitch,
Uh-huh.
that must have been terrifying. What did batsmen do to protect themselves?
Well, they weren't just going to stand there and take it.
Right.
They started using pads and gloves for protection.
Okay.
And the bat itself got an upgrade with a cane handle for more resilience.
This is like an arms race
Yeah.
between the batsmen and the bowlers.
Right.
But did this shift towards faster bowling make the game less exciting for the audience? It seems like it would be harder to score runs.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But surprisingly, this period, the late 19th and early 20th centuries, is often called cricket's golden age.
Wait, really? Why is that?
Well, it was partly because some truly legendary batsmen emerged.
Oh, okay.
Players like W.G. Grace or John Barry Hobbs and K.S. Ranjit Singh.
Okay.
They didn't just survive those fierce bowlers. They
Mhm.
thrived.
Yeah.
They became icons of the sport, captivating audiences with their skill and artistry.
So it was a time of incredible talent on both sides.
Exactly.
Incredible bowling and incredible batting.
It was a golden age for a reason.
Yeah.
But as we move further into the 20th century, the game went through more changes.
Yeah.
Teams started focusing more on defensive play,
Okay.
which, while strategic,
Yeah.
led to slower matches with fewer runs.
Right.
And guess what? Fewer runs meant fewer people wanted to watch.
So cricket needed a bit of a makeover
Exactly.
to bring back the excitement.
And that's exactly what happened, all thanks to a bit of bad weather.
Oh, really?
A rained-out test match led to the creation of a completely new format. One-day cricket.
Rain delay inspiration. I love it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This shortened version with limited overs, basically a set number of bowls per side,
Okay.
injected energy and speed back into the game, making it a huge hit with fans.
So let me make sure I'm getting this. An over is a set number of bowls from one bowler before switching to another.
Exactly. You're getting it.
Okay.
And this one-day format actually led to the creation of something even more exciting, the 2020 or T20 format,
Okay.
which is now arguably even more popular than test matches in some parts of the world.
So from sheep petting gates to electrifying T20 matches, cricket has come a long way.
It has.
But it's not just the game itself that's evolved, right? There's a whole structure to the sport,
Right.
different levels of competition and all that.
You're right. There's a whole world within the world of cricket.
Yeah.
Remember that gentleman versus players match we mentioned earlier?
The one where amateurs played against professionals.
Exactly.
Yeah. It seems like that was an early way of showcasing the different levels of talent within the sport.
Exactly. And that distinction between amateurs and professionals was a big part of cricket for a long time.
Right.
Another breeding ground for talent was university cricket,
Uh-huh.
especially the rivalry between Oxford and Cambridge.
Okay.
Those matches were huge events.
It's like a mini rivalry within the larger world of cricket.
Right.
Were these university players hoping to make it to the professional level?
Many of them did.
Yeah.
University cricket was often a stepping stone to county cricket.
Okay. County cricket.
Yes.
I hear that term all the time, but to be honest, I don't really know what it is. Can you break it down for me?
Yeah, of course. County cricket is basically a domestic competition played between teams representing different counties in England and Wales.
Okay.
It's been around for centuries, but it wasn't formally structured until the late 19th century.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it's like the major leagues of English cricket.
You got it. In those early days, there were definitely some dominant teams.
Oh, yeah.
Gloucestershire, with the legendary W.G. Grace and his brothers,
Okay.
ruled the 1870s. Then from the 1880s to World War I, you had the Big Six: Nottinghamshire, Surrey, Yorkshire, Lancashire, Kent,
Okay.
and Middlesex.
So like in any professional sport, you have these powerhouses emerging.
Exactly.
Did that dominance shift over time?
It did. After World War I, the balance of power swung toward the northern counties,
Okay.
especially Yorkshire and Lancashire. They were largely professional, which gave them a big advantage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Professionalization really changed the face of the sport.
So what about the other counties? Did they have a chance to compete?
Absolutely. County cricket has always been a dynamic competition.
Right.
Teams rise and fall, and you never know who's going to come out on top.
Right.
Surrey was dominant in the 1950s, Yorkshire in the 1960s, then Kent and Middlesex had their moments in the 1970s. It's a constant cycle.
I'm starting to get a feel for the history and the tradition behind county cricket. It really is a cornerstone of the sport, isn't it? But like anything that's been around for so long, I imagine it's had to adapt and change over time.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
County cricket has faced its share of challenges, especially in the post-war period.
Okay.
There was a phase of slow defensive play that led to lower scores and, unfortunately, a decline in attendance.
Yeah.
People were craving more excitement.
So how did county cricket respond to that?
Well, they took a cue from the international game and introduced one-day knockout competitions and Sunday league matches.
Oh,
These shorter, faster-paced formats breathe new life into county cricket, bringing back the fans and attracting new ones.
It's fascinating how cricket has always found ways to innovate and stay relevant.
It's true. And another significant change came in the early 1980s with the introduction of overseas players.
Okay.
Each county could sign one foreign player, which not only strengthened the teams, but also helped create a more global cricketing community.
I bet those overseas players brought new perspectives and skills to the game,
Absolutely.
making it even more interesting to watch.
And to encourage more dynamic play, they introduced bonus points, which rewarded batsmen and bowlers for taking more risks. More risks meant more thrilling matches for the fans.
So it sounds like they were always trying to strike a balance between tradition and innovation.
Exactly. And in an effort to help young batsmen and spin bowlers, they eventually shifted from the traditional 3-day format to a 4-day format for county matches.
Right.
This gave batsmen more time to build an innings and allowed spin bowlers to really show their skills on a more worn-out pitch.
It sounds like every change was aimed at making the game more exciting and engaging for everyone involved.
Right.
But what about the people running the show? The MCC was the original governing body? Right.
Yeah.
Did they stay in charge throughout all these changes?
Well, as cricket evolved, so did its governance.
Okay.
The MCC, while hugely important, realized that a more structured governing body was needed.
Okay.
One that was more in line with other professional sports in Britain.
So it sounds like a pretty big shift in power.
Yep.
What prompted this change?
It was partly driven by the emergence of the Sports Council, a government agency that oversaw sports in Britain.
Okay.
They wanted to provide funding for cricket, but they needed a more formal governing body to work with.
Right.
This led to the creation of the Cricket Council in 1969.
So a new era of cricket governance.
It was.
Was this Cricket Council completely separate from the MCC, or did the MCC still have a role?
It was actually a tripartite body, meaning it had 3 parts: the Testing County Cricket Board, TCCB, the National Cricket Association, NCA, and the MCC. The MCC retained control over the laws of the game. But the TCCB took charge of all first-class and minor counties cricket in England,
Okay.
as well as managing overseas tours.
So the TCCB was like the administrative heart of English cricket.
Right.
And what about the NCA? What was their role in all of this?
The NCA was there to represent a wider range of the cricket community,
Okay.
schools, the armed services umpires,
Uh-huh.
even the Women's Cricket Association. It ensured that all levels of the sport had a voice in how things were run.
It sounds like they were trying to create a more inclusive and representative system.
Exactly. But the story of cricket governance doesn't end there.
Yeah.
In 1997,
Okay.
another major restructuring took place, leading to the creation of the England and Wales Cricket Board, or ECB.
All right.
This new body unified the TCCB, the NCA, and the Cricket Council under one umbrella.
So the ECB became the ultimate authority for cricket in England and Wales.
Yes.
It seems like they were always trying to streamline things and create a more unified structure.
You're right. The ECB marked a new chapter in the story of English cricket. It set the stage for the modern era of the sport.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground already. From those humble beginnings with the sheep pen gate to this complex world of professional leagues and international competition, it's amazing how much cricket has evolved.
It is, and we've really only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, let's take a moment to reflect.
Okay.
What stood out to you so far? Anything that surprised you or that you found particularly interesting?
Well, I have to say that image of those early cricketers bowling at a sheep pen gate is not going anywhere.
I know, it's pretty memorable.
It's such a quirky origin story,
Yeah.
especially when you consider how grand and sophisticated the sport has become.
It's a good reminder that even the most complex things often have very humble beginnings.
Absolutely. And that round arm revolution really caught my attention.
I had no idea there was such a dramatic shift in bowling technique.
Yeah.
To go from underhand throws to 90-mile-per-hour overhand deliveries, that's incredible.
Right. It really was a turning point.
Yeah, it's a testament to how innovative the sport has always been.
And it's not just bowling.
Yeah.
The rules,
Yeah.
the formats of the game.
Right.
Cricket has never stopped evolving. It's fascinating.
And then there's the whole world of county cricket, which I'm finally starting to understand.
Oh, good.
It's amazing how this domestic competition became such a central part of the sport's history.
It's a testament to the passion and dedication of all the players, the administrators,
Yeah.
and the fans who've shaped the game into what it is today.
I feel like I'm finally starting to see cricket not just as a game, but as this living, breathing thing with such a deep-rooted history and a future that's still being written.
That's exactly what we're going for with these deep dives. Understanding the past
Yeah.
helps us appreciate the present and even anticipate the future. So where do we go from here? What other hidden gems of cricket knowledge are you going to reveal?
Now that we've got a good foundation,
Yeah.
we can delve into the specifics of how the game is actually played.
Okay.
We'll explore the rules, the different formats, and the intricacies of batting, bowling, and fielding.
Okay.
Ready to go deeper.
Absolutely. Lead the way.
All right, so let's unpack the game itself.
Right.
Cricket is essentially a battle between two teams of 11 players each.
Okay.
One team bats, trying to rack up as many runs as possible,
Mm-hmm.
while the other team bowls and fields, trying to get the batsman out and keep those runs low.
Okay. That makes sense at a high level, but
Yeah.
I have to confess, whenever I try to watch a match, I get a bit lost on all the rules and the terminology.
Yeah.
It all seems so intricate.
I get it. It can seem that way at first,
Yeah.
but once you grasp the basics, it's like a whole new world opens up.
Right.
Imagine a giant park with a rectangular strip in the middle.
Okay.
That's the pitch where most of the action happens.
Right. I've seen that setup. It's like the stage for the main event.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And at each end of the pitch, you've got 3 wooden sticks stuck in the ground with 2 little pieces balanced on top.
Yeah.
Those are the wickets.
Ah, the famous wickets.
Yes.
I know they're important targets, but I'm still a bit fuzzy on their exact role.
Think of the wickets as the bullseye for the bowlers.
Okay.
Their main goal is to hit the wickets with the ball
Mm-hmm.
and knock off those little pieces called bails.
Okay.
That's one way to get a batsman out.
So it's a real game of precision for the bowlers.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to hit a pretty small target.
Now, on the batting side,
Yeah.
you have 2 batsmen out on the pitch at a time,
Okay.
one at each end facing the bowler.
Yeah.
The batsman who's up to bat is called the striker,
Okay.
and their job is to, well, strike the ball.
Okay. And what about the other batsmen just standing there at the opposite end? What are they doing?
They're called the non-striker,
Okay.
and they're not just taking a break. They have to be ready to run if the striker hits the ball.
Right.
Every time they both successfully switch ends,
Mm-hmm.
they get a run.
So even in batting, there's an element of teamwork and coordination.
Definitely. Now, the striker has a bunch of different shots they can use,
Right.
depending on how the ball is bowled and where they want to hit it. They can play defensively, try to block the ball, or go for those big, exciting shots.
Like those massive sixes I've seen where they hit the ball clear out of the stadium.
You got it. A six is when the batsman hits the ball over the boundary without it touching the ground first.
Oh, wow.
It's like a home run in baseball.
Right.
If it bounces before going over the boundary, that's a 4.
Okay, so the scoring is starting to make more sense now.
Good.
But how long does all this batting and bowling go on for? Did they just keep playing until someone gets tired?
That's where the different formats of the game come in.
Okay.
Test matches, considered the most prestigious format, are played over 5 days.
5 days.
Each team gets 2 innings.
Okay.
Which is basically their turn to bat.
Right.
And those innings can last for days.
Wow, 5 days. No wonder they call them test matches.
I know.
That's some serious stamina and focus required.
It is.
It's like a sporting marathon.
But in the shorter formats, like one-day matches and T20 matches,
yeah,
each team only gets 1 inning.
Okay.
And the number of overs they can bowl is limited.
Right.
Which makes for a much faster game.
So there's really a format for everyone, whether you have 5 days to spare or just a couple of hours.
Exactly. Each format has its own unique rules and regulations.
Right.
But the core of the game is always the same.
Yeah.
A strategic battle between 2 teams, testing their skill and mental toughness.
Yeah.
It's almost like a giant game of chess played out on a field.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a game of strategy and constant adjustment.
It is.
But let's go back to the basics for a moment.
Oh.
You mentioned that bowlers try to hit the wickets to get a batsman out.
Right.
But are there other ways to dismiss a batsman?
Oh, there are plenty of ways to get a batsman out in cricket.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that makes the game so interesting. Besides hitting the wickets, a bowler can get a batsman out by getting them caught.
Caught, like catching the ball before it hits the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a batsman hits the ball and a fielder catches it before it bounces, the batsman is out.
Okay.
It's one of the most exciting moments in cricket, especially when it's spectacular diving catch.
I bet that must really get the crowd going.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got bowled and caught. Are there any other ways?
There's also something called leg before wicket, or LBW for short.
Okay.
It's a bit tricky to explain, but basically, if the ball hits the batsman's leg
Yeah.
and the umpire thinks the ball would have hit the wickets if the leg hadn't been in the way, the batsman is out.
So it's a way to prevent batsmen from just using their body to shield the wickets.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer of strategy and judgment to the game.
Okay. This is starting to make a lot more sense.
Good.
But what about the fielders? What are their roles in all of this? I always see them scattered around the field.
Yeah.
But I'm never sure what they're all doing.
Fielders are absolutely crucial. They're strategically positioned all over the field to catch the ball, stop runs, and support the bowler.
Right.
Each position has a specific name and purpose.
Okay.
And it all adds to the complexity of the game.
It sounds like a carefully choreographed dance with everyone anticipating the next move and working together.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They're like chess pieces,
Yeah.
always adjusting their positions to counter the batsman's strategies and support the bowler's plan.
So it's a true team effort on both sides of the game.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a specific role to play to achieve the ultimate goal.
Exactly. And that's what makes cricket so unique and engaging.
Yeah.
It's a game of individual skill, for sure.
Right.
But it also requires teamwork strategy and a deep understanding of all the little nuances.
I'm really starting to appreciate the depth of the sport.
Yeah.
It's not just about hitting a ball or running between wickets. There's so much more to it.
You're getting it. Every decision, every shot, every delivery can change the course of the match.
You mentioned earlier that there are different formats of the game.
Yeah.
Test matches, one-day matches, and T20 matches. Can you walk me through the main differences?
That's a great question. It's these different formats that really give cricket its richness and keep things interesting.
Right.
As we talked about before, test matches are the longest format played over 5 days.
Yeah.
With each team getting 2 innings to bat and bowl. It's a marathon of skill, strategy, and mental toughness.
Yeah.
A true test of a team's abilities.
It sounds like a slow burn of a game.
It can be.
With the tension building over those 5 days.
Correct.
Are there strategic timeouts like in American football?
You mean breaks where the players can rest and strategize with their coaches?
Right, exactly.
Well, not in the same way as American football.
Right.
But there are breaks for lunch and tea, which are also iconic parts of the test match experience.
Right.
But strategically, captains can decide when to declare their innings closed.
Yeah.
Even if not all their batsmen are out. which is a fascinating tactical element.
Yeah.
But back to the formats. We then have one-day matches.
Right.
They're like the condensed version.
Okay.
With each team getting only one inning and a limited number of overs, usually 50 per side.
So if test matches are a marathon,
Uh-huh.
one-day matches are more like a sprint.
Exactly. And this format really revolutionized cricket.
Yeah.
The focus shifted to scoring quickly
Right.
and taking wickets aggressively. It injected a jolt of energy into the sport and attracted a whole new wave of fans.
And I'm guessing T20 takes that fast-paced energy to a whole other level?
You're right on.
Yeah.
T20 is the shortest format, with each team getting only 20 overs to bat.
Wow.
It's all about explosive batting, clever bowling variations, and lightning-fast fielding.
It sounds like a total adrenaline rush. No wonder it's become so popular all over the world.
It's perfect for our fast-paced world.
Yeah.
But even though each format has its own distinct flavor and appeal,
Right.
they all share the core elements of cricket. The battle between bat and ball, the strategic interplay between teams, and those amazing moments of brilliance that can completely turn a match around.
I'm starting to understand why cricket is called a game of glorious uncertainties. You never know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us all hooked, whether it's a nail-biting test match that goes down to the wire, or a high-scoring T20 match with sixes flying everywhere.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm finally getting a grasp of the complexities of cricket.
Good.
But I'm sure there's still so much more to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cricket is a sport with endless layers.
Right.
But I think we've built a great foundation for you.
I'm definitely eager to keep exploring.
Yeah.
But for now, I think I need a moment to digest all of this.
Okay.
When we come back, I'd love to hear more about cricket's global reach and its cultural significance beyond England. It's one thing to understand the rules of the game, but it's even more fascinating to see how this sport has become such a worldwide phenomenon. All right, I'm ready to take this deep dive global.
Okay.
We've talked about the history and rules of cricket.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious how this sport that started in the English countryside becomes such a massive international phenomenon.
It really is incredible how cricket has spread beyond its origins and taken root in so many different cultures. It's become intertwined with national identities and social fabric in a way that few sports have.
When I think about places like India, Australia, the West Indies, cricket's absolutely huge in these countries.
It goes way beyond just being a game. It's a cultural force. It's woven into people's lives, sparking conversations, bringing communities together, and even shaping national narratives.
Now, was it simply a case of the British Empire exporting cricket along with its other cultural influences?
Well, it's true that British colonialism played a role in cricket's early spread. The game was introduced to colonies around the world, often through the military and schools. But what's really interesting is how different cultures embraced and adapted the game, making it their own.
So it wasn't just a one-way street. Cricket evolved as it traveled, taking on these new forms and meanings.
Exactly. Take India, for example.
Yeah.
Cricket arrived there with the British East India Company back in the 18th century. But it was in the 20th century that it really exploded in popularity, becoming a symbol of national pride and unity.
I've heard stories about how cricket matches in India bring everything to a standstill.
It's true.
It's like the entire nation is glued to their TVs or radios, hanging on every ball.
It's a testament to the power of sports to connect people across social and cultural divides. In India, cricket is much more than just a game. It's a shared national experience that unites people from all walks of life.
And then you have the West Indies, a collection of island nations with their own unique histories and cultures. Finding a sense of unity and identity through cricket.
Yeah, the cricket team, a blend of incredibly talented players from different islands, became this symbol of Caribbean pride and resilience. They challenged the established cricketing powers and inspired generations of young people.
It's amazing how cricket became a way for former colonies to express their national identity and assert their place on the world stage.
It's a powerful example of how sports can be a catalyst for social and cultural change. And then you have Australia, another cricketing powerhouse, which developed its own distinct style of play, aggressive, competitive, and never giving up.
The Aussies, fighting spirits legendary, they always seem to bring this incredible intensity to the game.
It's part of their cricketing DNA. We have this rich history of legendary players and those unforgettable victories
Yeah.
that have really shaped a strong national identity around cricket.
It's amazing to see how cricket, despite its English roots, has taken on such distinct flavors and styles in different parts of the world.
It has.
It's like this global tapestry woven together by local cultures and passions.
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
And that tapestry keeps expanding and evolving, with new cricketing nations emerging and challenging the traditional powerhouses.
So it's not just a handful of countries dominating the sport anymore. The
Well,
landscape's changing.
That's right. We're seeing the rise of associate nations like Afghanistan,
Okay.
Ireland,
Uh-huh.
and Nepal, which has added a whole new dimension to international cricket. It's becoming more competitive and unpredictable,
Yeah.
which is great for the sport.
This global expansion is really exciting.
Yeah.
It's introducing cricket to new audiences and bringing fresh perspectives and talent to the game.
It speaks to the universality of sports.
Yeah.
Its ability to connect people from all over the world, regardless of their background.
Absolutely.
And as cricket continues to evolve and adapt,
Yeah.
who knows what the future holds.
Right.
We might see even more countries embrace this sport and leave their mark on the international stage.
I'm definitely excited to see how cricket continues to evolve.
Me too.
It's a sport with such a rich past and such a vibrant future. And thanks to this deep dive, I feel like I can finally appreciate it on a whole new level.
That's what we were hoping for. Cricket is more than just a game. It's a window into history, culture,
Yeah.
and the human spirit. As you keep exploring this fascinating world,
Right.
remember that dynamic tension between tradition and innovation that we've seen throughout cricket's journey.
Yeah.
It's that tension that keeps the game evolving and keeps us all captivated.
Yeah.
Who knows what amazing things it'll give rise to next.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has been fun.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with me.
My pleasure. Happy to help unravel the mysteries of cricket.